Welcome everyone to another episode of Coffee and Whiteboard Markers. I'm joined by my co-host Jody Epia.
How are you?
I'm Miles OK. We look forward to the ride. 2 weeks to go, my man. 2 weeks of an 11-week term. It's couldn't be happier to see the finish line of this term, to be honest.
Oh yeah.
How are we travelling?
This is that one where everything's coming to a certain point.
Yeah.
Looking at reports, looking at the long 11-week, things are getting wrapped up, and then starting new things for next term. So it's just a whole combination. Yeah, it's just.
There's a 3-week block there, isn't
Yeah.
there? There's a 3-week block there where you've got reports due, you've got marking to do, upper school exam, we're doing lower school exams, and then, like we're starting semester 2 work as well. You're kind of like, whoa, this is nuts. Like, it feels like it's knowing that we're on the right path now, but it's it's been a busy couple of weeks.
And it's also a combination with having to also catch up with some of those kids who've missed the exam days.
Yes.
To try and kids do the catch up. So
Yes.
it's not just sit the exam this day and it's done, but it's catching up kids who come back spasmodically throughout the week or whatever. So.
Who would have thunk it? A student missing an assessment item. No way. So the win for me this week is definitely at a department level. It's been good just getting the semester 2 work started and knowing that we're all sort of going into the holidays with a few weeks under our belt and we sort of hit the ground running, which I appreciate. Yourself?
I think the win for myself is just keeping on top of everything and keeping everything together. But at the same time, I think the other cool win is that as a department, I think we talk really well, just explaining to each other where everybody's up to, liaising with each other when you're going to be doing this assessment so that we're all sort of giving it roughly around the same time. I think that's a really good thing. I think the win is the communication. Yeah,
and I like that because I think it's, as you become an experienced teacher, you realise that time very much is it's non-existent. Any time becomes valuable. So the communication does cut down on that. I think it might be a good time coming towards the end of the term to sort of touch in with well-being. So my question to you, what things do you do to keep yourself from burning out in teaching? What things do you do for yourself to keep yourself from burning out in teaching?
I suppose one of the good things is that one is to actually, detach yourself from. So when you leave.
It's a big one, isn't it?
And then go home and then just enjoy being with family, just enjoy doing the things other than schoolwork. It is one thing where you got to protect yourself, got to protect your time.
Yeah.
Because if you're just inundated with just giving everything just to the profession, you sort of lose focus of other things that are actually still happening around you. So the learning, as you say, with your got a baby, mine's my older kids.
Yep.
My wife was still loving our time in the church and following that stuff. So all of just learn to just evenly divide your time, because when you look at it, the majority of the day we're at school anyway.
Yeah.
And that's our main profession and that's what we're getting paid for. But that's not the be all and end all. Always have a focus of the fact that you can go back home and then enjoy home life.
Yeah, and it definitely helped me. I've talked about it before, earlier in my career, having that advice from a senior person I was working with at the time, just said, look, when you leave school, that's you done for the day. But it was a discipline teaching myself that, because I think with teaching can become pretty quickly a 24/7 job with, everything that could happen today. What if this happens? What if that happens? But it just ends up in you being run down and being less effective in the classroom.
And the thing is that early on your early stages into teaching, you sort of do that because you want to make sure everything is working well, make sure things, and you sort of have to go through those stages. But then as time progresses in the profession, you sort of learn, hey, there are more things that are a lot more valuable in the sense of making sure your home life is good, making sure the house fires are so good and all that things.
Yeah.
That's the balance.
Balance your time.
Yeah.
I think it's definitely, for me, it's been, I know it's hard at the moment, obviously with a young daughter, but sleep and having set wake up times in the day. I noticed for that, I was saying here before, I've been sick for weeks now, on and off. But I think just having the time to recover is important for teaching, because it's such an emotionally charged job. Yeah. You need time to sort of be able to settle down. Like sometimes I just need to be by myself and just sort of recompose and re-energize. People are different. Some people need to be around people. Do what you can, but do what you can to re-energize and get yourself refocused as much as possible. I know, especially towards the end of term as well, I do crash a fair bit, so I do my best not to load myself up with very cognitive loaded tasks towards the end of term.
I'm going into this part of my phase of my end of term stuff, is that usually around the end of term, around the last, say, 10, 15 minutes, if we've achieved what I wanted the kids to achieve in class on the last session, I'll take them outside and we'll run a couple of activities just to change it up a little, just to leave the kids with a little bit of excitement about the day, so that it's not just finish off, tidy up, go home. So I've been doing a lot of sort of team building activities near the end of the day, just so the kids can feel energized. But also I'm doing a lot of reflection inside the class and getting kids to actually try and do the learning and learning new concepts without writing anything. So today or this week, I've just been practicing getting kids to repeat over and over and over. How do I break this down? How do I do that? How do I do this? And it's neat how kids have to now rely on their memory, not just look into their books and say, oh, this is how it's done. And for the kids that don't know, it's you ask for help, and the rest of the kids come in who are willing to help and get the knowledge shared around the place.
So I think it is. I think it's definitely worth investing in yourself. In teaching, it's definitely worth investing in your well-being. So try, if you're stuck with stuff, trial and error a few things, research stuff. But I think the main ones, get a good sleeping pattern, eating, a bit of exercise in there, and that sets up a strong foundation to get you in a mental place. Speaking of mental places, I think there's definitely a pattern to student behaviour. Some of it makes us laugh, some of it makes us cry, some of us just makes us think a little bit differently. I think today would be a nice episode to look at those things that students may have said that drive us a little bit crazy at times, the common behaviours. My first one is my favourite one, when I spend probably a 15, 20 minute chunk of a lesson explaining something pretty methodically, going through the steps, making sure I do, you do, the students are with me. Only to the end of that section of the lesson for the student to go, sir, what are we doing? And like, you told me, you were agreeing, you were giving me some of the answers back. And then how are we here right now? It fascinates me how you can sort of just do everything for a student and they can still come back to you and go, so what are we doing now? I'm like, I just asked 3 different people, all eyes are on me, the whole class is looking at me, you were paying attention. How are we not? And it's not like I said, what is it, we're possibly doing this? It's like, I got no idea. And you're like, where's your mind been for 20 minutes? What about yourself? What's your first one?
I'm gonna jump on that one too, because when a kid asks us that particular question, sometimes you just dumbfounded or can't understand and fathom where did that question come from, and we've just been doing it for the last 20 odd minutes. And it even occurs as recent as today or even yesterday. It's one of those ones where you sort of like, you scratch your head and think, what? And so what I'll do is I will actually go back and I'll get the whole class through. But it's funny because the rest of the kids who do know what we're up to and what we're doing, they will let the others know without letting them know in an aggressive way, but just and I suppose the cool thing is that the kid that's asking the question, and I do promote asking questions, but it's one of those ones where sometimes did the question need to be asked because you just answered half of the questions. So what are we doing today? It's like, wow.
Well, that's because it's not a reassurance thing. It's not like, oh, sir, just double checking, which some kids do, which is understandable. It's like just oblivious, but it's not. But like it's the attention's been on you, and they've been doing like it's very much I do, you do, you do, and then sir, what are we doing? My other one is on that is before a student rocks up to class, sir, what are we learning today? But not as if like, sir, like it's I've been doing topic for 2 weeks. It's the same topic, and told them that what we're at the end of the last lesson, what we'll be doing. And so I thought we'd give grammar a go in a math class. I thought we'd take you out and play some basketball. It's like, no, we're doing math today. It's most likely going to be a follow on from the topic yesterday. And then the reaction on their face is like they're absolutely bamboozled. It's like, no, this is what we've been doing for the last 6 months. It's been the routine for the last 6 months. So we teach a topic for 2 weeks. End of the previous lesson, I'll tell you what we're doing the next lesson. You were at the last lesson. You were there.
That's the same for me, bro. Like when they ask that very same question, it's like I always give a sarcastic answer depending on how it's asked.
You got to have humour.
Bro, and I say, maybe a little bit of math. Maybe we'll do a bit of math today. Maybe do math inside a math class. Who knows? And
then you get that student that doesn't get sarcasm. Like, so you're a math teacher. You should be doing math. You're like, this is a double-edged sword, this one. I can't win.
It's when the kids ask those sorts of questions, sometimes you sort of ask yourself, where's these questions coming from? But then sometimes the kids are actually genuine in asking the question, and it's like, whoa, where you been? You been somewhere else for the last whatever?
So what time does the bell go? And the bell times haven't changed for 10 years. And
Yeah.
they're in like year 10 and have been there since year 7. And you're like, well, what do you mean? Have you just guessed the time for the last 4 years and just followed everyone else?
Follow the crowd.
I love making them do the math now as well. Joking and having to say, where's the bell go? Okay, the bell goes here, and where the time here, how much more time to go? And they'll sit there, they're panicked. I'm like, well, you want to figure it out?
Yeah.
This is a working math problem.
You want to ask the question and come up with a solution. That's all it is, man. Wow.
Sir, can I go get a drink
Ooh.
5 minutes after recess has just been, and I've seen the student standing next to the drink fountain talking to the mate. Mate, you had all recess to get a drink. You're not going to dehydrate. You'll be all right. It's like literally like 5 minutes after break. You're like, hey, just bring a water bottle. Bring a water bottle. So then you're not outside disrupting everyone, get in the class, do the right thing. It's it's fascinating how the same things just keep coming up and up and up.
And a lot of these are common responses to kids that are, some of them actually use it as an avoidance tactic.
It
To try and
definitely.
get back out of class.
It's exactly what it is.
And you can just tell, there are some kids who you can genuinely, and those are the kids that will hardly ever ask to go out. If a kid that's never asked me to go for a drink and I know works extremely hard, I have no problem. Yep, where you go.
Are you playing favourites with your classmates, Stepia?
But when there are kids that I know that just want to go in and out all the time, it's a no from me.
Yeah, they say it shows confidence as well. It's like, what do you mean when I say no?
Yeah.
Oh, what do you mean no? So I'm like, bring a water bottle. Like, you'll be all right.
Yeah. No, you gotta. I think a lot of it is reading how the kids are. For the kids that try to use it as an avoiding work tactic, no, absolutely not. Even when kids are trying to say, "Oh, can I go for a drink?" and let's say it's 20 minutes to the bell, you're not going to die from not going for a drink right now. You'll be fine. So a lot of it is based on time. If it's too early in the session, the answer is going to be no. If it's late in the session, the answer is going to be no. If it's in the middle, depending if you're a kid that works extremely hard. If you're not, no. If you are, quickly, you got a minute.
What do you got, my man?
I think one of the things that I find is the toilet one, bro.
The toilet one?
I
As
think
in,
it's the
can I go to the toilet?
Yeah. Bro, straight after recess, straight after lunch.
Well, it's different schools I worked at, but it's almost like toilets become a hangout spot these days. It can't be that pleasant to be hanging around. There's got to be more to life than hanging around the toilet. Again, maybe it's just students very coincidentally need to go to the toilet at the same time. But it's, and again, it's most of the time I find another time wasting and distraction technique.
It's that response. I didn't want to go at recess. I didn't want to go at lunchtime. It's like, hey, but that's what it's for. You actually have to understand. You go to the toilet, go to grab a drink during those times, but when they come back with that response, oh, I didn't feel like going to the toilet then, or didn't need a drink then. Wow, too bad, because even we as teachers, I say to the kids, even we as teachers, we have to control when
I'll
you
hold
go
some.
and when you don't.
Yeah, there's been some times there. It's been like pretty touch and go. I'm like, oh. And you look at the clock and I'm like, it's like 40 minutes left. I'm like, man, there's nothing but willpower right now. But you get to that point. Like, well, it's all in this together kind of thing. So let's just get through this. Obviously there's students out there that are going to need to go to the toilets for certain times. We get that. But it's just more when you start to see come up with the same students, you do start to doubt what they're saying.
Yeah, my common response to a lot of the kids is ask me in 5 minutes, ask me in 2 minutes, depending on if you see them jumping around, like really, then the time obviously is ask me in a minute. But if you can see that their faces are absolutely fine, I think one kid asked me, "Sir, can I go to the toilet?" And I said, ask me in 5. Totally forgot. Totally didn't even remember. So the rest of the session, he finished off the session, and then I said, "Do you still need to go to the toilet?" He goes, "Oh, yeah, that's right." So really, just put it back on them.
Education one out.
Yep.
Education one out. Sir, can we have a chill lesson today?
Oh.
Just like, but they rock up like it's supposed to happen. Like, I get it, you're tired, but we can't just put the world on hold for you.
Yeah.
Like, we need to push through this right now. And life's pretty good. Like, you got to persevere somehow, put some work into stuff.
Yeah.
Can't just rock up and go, well, what's a chill lesson? Like there's levels of chill here.
Yeah.
It's not just free. And then free time is like a disaster because I don't know how to use it.
That's right.
So they get bored and you're like, well, okay, now you want your chill lesson, but you don't want your chill lesson. And then, I'm going to structure your free time for you. Let's just do the first lesson.
Structure your free
and
time.
work with that and go from there. No, and obviously there's rewards. So like I build in reward time and stuff, similar to
Yeah.
yourself, last 10, 15 minutes of the lesson. But it's to make sure you get reward for putting the effort in.
Correct.
It's not just rocking up and doing. Only time I would do, not a chill lesson, but a more of a relaxed lesson is after like an exam or a hard assessment. Like I get that's understandable.
Yeah.
And we had lower school exams recently, the lesson after 2 lessons, back to back. The lesson after that was still numeracy based, but it wasn't as hard working as we'd normally do.
I think one of the ones that I do is that it's exactly the same as you, is when we've really put put everything into an exam or whatever. It's good to come back and even just to give the kids back their results and just go through the questions again. That there is another good learning part, especially if they try and say, well, to me that's a chilled session because they get to reassess where they went, what they done right and what they done
And they
wrong.
go hunting for marks.
Yeah.
They go hunting for marks. Today. They hunt them. I'm like, I wish you had this work ethic when you're studying for the test. Students can hunt for marks, can't they?
Oh, yeah.
And it can become a slippery slope as soon as you get questioned and you're not confident, mate. You can be remarking a whole paper. So you got to make sure, and it's fair enough. The kids are keeping you accountable.
Yeah.
You got to make sure you can justify every mark.
One kid today tried to do the same thing, and he explained to me and he showed me the whole process in his calculator, and I said, "That's really good." And then I had another look at it and I said, "This is why you didn't get it, is because the variable was down the bottom, and you forgot to drag it to the front and divide both sides."
Yeah.
And he looked at it because he just punched it in and multiplied everything. And once he got it, he was like, oh. So he accepted the answer. But it was like, as you're right, you watch these kids that go hunting for marks. Why didn't I get this? Why didn't I get that?
Got to have that structured marking key. That's when math is nice, because you can have the behaviours marked, and then if it's a 3-mark question, here's where the 3 marks break down, which I find beneficial. You're up.
One of the things that I find when let's say half the class, 3/4 of the class is gone, because they're on an excursion or whatever else, and the question you get is that, so there's only a small amount of us, do you mind if we play a game, or do you mind if we do this, do you mind if we do that? And I'm like, it fathoms me how just because they think the rest of the class ain't here, that we change the whole day,
whole dynamic just because of them.
That's right.
Just because of them. And I think it's almost like a hustle, isn't it?
Yeah.
If they can come through the front door,
Yeah.
and they have enough of them, hustle the teacher might give in. And then it's suddenly, if his first teacher gives in, and you're a second period teacher, well, our first teacher did it. So if you're a 5th period teacher, and you've had the 4 teachers before you, mate, you're up against it.
And it's the fact that they try and use a winning over tactic, bro, to try and keep you on side. And it was funny because these kids came in yesterday. I think it was all of 5 kids in the class, and they said, "Oh, sir, there's only a small amount of us. Do you mind?" I said, "No." And I said, "No. You know what's cool? You're going to get a little bit more extra today. You're going to know more than what those kids who have gone."
You're going to be so educated. It's going to be incredible.
It's a bit of flexibility, so you can, like, at times, like I have allowed some kids to do other things, and we've changed it, but it was still learning was still occurring. One of the things was I think I had a small group, and one of the groups I said, "So give me a reflection. What are some of the areas that you guys are finding hard, either in math or other topics?" And it's so cool because they'll open up because the class is small.
Yeah.
And the cool thing is that they'll share those ideas.
And you can use those small classes to work more on rapport building, can't you?
That's it. And then you talk to them about areas where they're finding difficulty, and you can use that and say, well, this is what I would do, and explain to them, because I think a lot of it is the way they are with us as teachers, or especially with yourself, myself, in our classes. A lot of kids are feeling a lot more confident to ask questions because you promote that sort of environment to ask questions.
Yeah.
But it's that building of that rapport with some of their other teachers. They won't ask questions because they're too fearful that the response might not be.
No, look, there's a lot of power in that. I think it's behaviour management a lot of it comes down to rapport. So any chance you get to build rapport inside the classroom or on duty and stuff, just to have check-ins. Yeah, definitely. How do you go with students tapping pencils?
No.
Yeah, and I hate it. And I used to think it was kids just doing it to get a rise, which it maybe is. But I think it's just attention spans these days. You'll be talking for more than 4 seconds and they zone out, and suddenly tapping the pencils like the thing, and you're like, this is just getting nuts.
I will use that. I have used that one as a bit of a teaching and a learning thing. And I'll explain to the kids, the reason why I don't want you to tap the purely is because you're going to break the lead on the inside. Then you're going to have to buy me a pencil. Oh,
I've got those buckets. So we get buckets of 100 pencils for our classes, and we reuse them. I've got one lower school class. As they walk through the door, they pick up 3 pencils now because I don't want to sharpen it. I'm like, no, hold on. You don't get 3 sharp pencils. You get one, and you have to resharpen it.
Yeah,
but I was like, that's not a bad move though. That's not a bad move. Because watching them, I thought I didn't know what they're doing with them. I'm like, what's going on? I'm like, oh, Sarah gets blunt. I'm like, well, A, we're doing enough work, which is good. But B, I was like, I don't know if I'm excited or happy or pleased or disappointed in that. Like, it was an interesting move. But yeah, no, the tapping pencil definitely gets me.
Yeah.
It was actually funny when we had a prac teacher recently. The supervisor came in. It was just an early teacher thing. I think the prac teacher had given the students rulers to measure as you're doing maths, but then trying to re-get the students' attentions with the rulers. I think they sort of went on free for all and started doing their own thing, which, and I'm sure we did when we were starting our teaching. You forget that it just needs to be at all times, just attention on you, see where your resources go. Because as soon as you let your guard down, it's just pandemonium.
Oh, that's it. And I think as a new teacher's coming into the profession, quickly stomp out the things that you don't want to happen in your classes, i.e. all these types of questions. And if you set it right at the beginning, kids won't go there again. And even if you have to really be hard on shutting some of these questions down, or asking or requesting this, they will generally not come and ask you again because they understand that he always says no.
Yes.
And once you establish that, these sorts of wild questions that get thrown around randomly, some of them won't occur.
Yeah, it's tapering off.
Yeah.
A funny incident, didn't really make me laugh or cry, but it was I got called into to help another teacher out at another school a few years back. It was a lower school class, and there was one student there who was like a notorious little terror. And I got called into the class, and he was just storming up in the halls, like just losing it. Not being aggressive, but just out of his mind. I get in there, and I'm, for people who can't see, 6'3", 6'4", so pretty tall. Just gets his pencil and ditches at me as hard as he can. Then as I'm sort of walking him out, he goes, "It's all right. The pen's mightier than the sword." And I went, A, it was a pretty good throw. B, that's pretty witty for a lower school student. I was like, yeah, it's just those little things in teaching you don't expect, do you? I didn't expect to come to school today to help another teacher out, to get a pencil thrown at me, and for this student to possibly be the funniest little kid going around with retorts like that.
Oh, mate, that's quite clever to be able to think like that.
Another one that frustrates me is online platforms these days. Obviously, anything online requires a username and password. And as a teacher, you don't want to be rearranging, 68 different 1,000 passwords for different things. You normally keep it as a student email and the student's first name for a password. Sir, what's my username? What's my password? Oh. I'm like, you've probably got 48,000. You got your own phone, your own MacBook at home. How do you forget the simple ones?
Oh, I think that one that reset, sir, can you reset my password? And it's so funny because when they come back and have a look at the actual password, a lot of it is, did you put a capital? Bro, and then they go, oh, is there a capital in my thinking? And that's the ones that frustrate me, bro, when they think, oh, do you think you just go around spelling your first name without capitals, your last name without capitals?
Sometimes I don't even spell the name properly. Like, I can only take you so far. You can only get so far. This is...
It is, bro. It's one of those ones where you get them to double check and then you show them on the actual computer yourself and you say, did you put this in? And then they go, yes. And I said, did you put a capital? And they're like, oh.
The best one, when they all rush you at once. Sir, what's my password? I'm like, I can't do 10 things at once. I'm going to deal with you. And there's a line here. It's probably going to be your first name with a capital letter. Yeah. Let's try that. It's just crazy. Got a final one?
I think one of the questions that I find when it's always that at the beginning when the first group of kids come in, the first kid always wants to know what we're doing, bro. And my always answer is, I'll wait for the whole class.
Yeah.
Right, just wait for the whole class. And it's like they think like it's just them that's there. But you just say, we'll wait for the whole class to come in. So now all of my kids won't ask me a question at the start, bro, about what we're doing. They'll wait for everybody to come to the class because they now know.
Oh, I get that as well. I think it's more, do you reckon it's maybe more of an awkward thing? They feel, like they want to talk to you because they're young, they don't know how to approach it. So what do we do? Or maybe they're just eager to learn, which isn't a bad thing. But because then you start with one person, then you got to start with everyone that comes through the door. And you're like, I get that one as well. And I do. You're trying to just go general conversation, don't you? And then when everyone comes in,
and just let them know, just wait for everybody to come in, then we can explain what's going to happen today.
We're
Not unless I've already got it written up on the board, and I'll just point to the board, and then they're like, oh.
We're a team in here, boys and girls. We learn together. So look, more of a light-hearted episode today. Obviously teaching is tough. We all need to laugh and cry and, express our emotions at time. But hopefully it brings a bit of joy into your life, a bit of laughter, a bit of positivity as you head into the into holidays. Hopefully catch you soon. Like always, thanks for listening, and we'll catch you